Ladies and gentlemen, let's give some massive love to Tom Witcombe!
The name of the show was Problematic. All you need to know is the first 10 minutes, arguably the most abrasive. Hitler comes up a lot of school shooting stuff. You know how comedy works. It is what it is. It's fine. In Melbourne, I did this show to a room that was legitimately 50% Orthodox Jews, including the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, and they loved it. Are there any children of Holocaust survivors in? That's a shame, they would have loved it. If history's anything to go by. Recent history. If recent history... I think that's all you need to know for the show. I hate having to do that much housekeeping up top, by the way, but it's a necessity. Crowds in 2023 can be so sensitive, and it's frustrating, because as a comedian you have two options. You can either water your material down so it doesn't offend anyone, or you can just lean into it. And I will always choose that option, because I don't think comedy works watered down. You know, comedy is best when it's pure, like cocaine, or race. Whether you're talking about punchlines, white lines, or bloodlines, purity is... This is going to be a good show. It's good stuff. Some audiences really pull back on that line, and I understand. You know, it's hard to know when people are joking in 2023. I mean, tickets to a comedy show, a bit of a fucking giveaway. But... I don't blame them, I understand. I know what I look like, alright? It is hard to make light of racial purity when you look this much like what Hitler had in mind. I get it. Jokes about race can be a problem when you look like the final solution. I get it. White guilt is a very real thing, and I have to live with it. I have to live with the fact that if Hitler had won the Second World War, my life might be better. That's confronting. That's a lot to live with. Think about it, if Hitler won the Second War, how would my life be different? I would just be a straight, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man performing in, if we're honest, a far less competitive comedy industry. I don't know how much you guys know about comedy or Judaism, but there is a lot of overlap, you know. A lot of common ground in that Venn diagram. So much so you take that Venn diagram, replace the circles with triangles, you know what you get? Star of David. Think about all the greats in the history of comedy. All of my heroes, Groucho Marx, Lenny Bruce, Woody Allen, Larry David, Joan Rivers, Sarah Silverman, Adam Sandler, all of them Jews. Also, every black comedian, if you believe Kanye West. Also, Jews. And now I'm not saying being Jewish guarantees success in comedy. What I am saying is I will convert to find out. I will learn Hebrew to move tickets, okay? I will trade my foreskin for a career in this industry, if that's what it takes. I'll remove it myself if I have to. I'll tie a string around it like a loose tooth and slam it in a door if it's going to get me on the project. I'm willing to. Shalom, Waleed Ali, it's great to be here. And it's at this point that, unfortunately, in 2023, I have to point out that is all very pro-Semitic material, okay? I hope you picked up on that. It's a shame I have to point that out, but we do have to, I don't know if you've noticed, Nazis are back. And if you ask me, this reboot culture is going too far. This year we got new Nazis and we're getting a new Indiana Jones. Coincidence? I don't think so. Now, when you look like I do, you have to be very careful not to be called guilty by association, okay? When I was a child, I once mistook a Hitler Youth poster for a mirror. I I have to be so careful. If I am caught stretching my arm at just the wrong angle, this career could be over before it began. It's a crazy times we're living in. And I have my friends, they're trying to adjust to it. Some of them have been really getting into the positivity movement. A friend of mine, so much so, he's decided he's going to cut all the negative influences out of his life. All the negativity gone. I think it's a great idea. Now, don't get me wrong. I miss him. But I think he's onto something. I'm going to cut the negativity out of my life. I'm starting with the news. I don't need that in my life anymore. It's just one negative story after another, and it's become too much for me. Like, I don't know if you saw what happened in Afghanistan last week, but I didn't. And what a fucking relief that is, to finally have Afghanistan off my plate, I gotta say. It's been a tough couple of years. I used to watch all the news, used to take it all in. Now I only pay attention to the news that directly impacts me. Domestic weather and sport. That's all I need to know. Do I need an umbrella? Did the Swans lose? That's it, alright? I didn't have Guatemalan landslide in my multi this week. Do I need to know about it? Really? I don't know anything about Guatemala. I don't know where it is on a map. I don't know what language they speak there. I don't know what the population of Guatemala is. Why do I need to know that now the population is slightly less? You guys take all the time you need on this. I'm in no rush. I'm just wondering, do I really need to know about natural disasters happening in countries I'm never going to visit? It's a good point. I'm just tired. Look, I'm tired of going to work on a Monday morning and getting cornered by an empathetic colleague saying, "Oh, Tom, did you hear the awful news? Did you hear on the weekend there was an earthquake in South Sudan?" And I have to go, "Oh my God. You are kidding." There are 2 Sudans? That's awful news. That's twice as much poverty. And it's not just the developing world where this happens. Well, it's in the West, isn't it? I mean, the American news is no more cheerful. I used to think that maybe I would move to America for my career. But then I realized, America has 2 things it has far too many of for me to ever feel comfortable to live there. Guns and Americans. Now, fortunately, the 2 do seem to be cancelling each other out, which... guns outnumber Americans 2 to 1, and the gap widens every school day. I think that's why in America they call fat people brave. You're just making yourself a bigger target. What are you doing? Those 2 issues alone are costing that country millions of dollars. The obesity crisis, the gun violence epidemic, really costing that country. You can't get a bed in most American hospitals right now because most American patients need at least 2 beds pushed together. And homicide departments in America just spending thousands and thousands of dollars. The chalk budget alone, just outlining these enormous victims. I can't. And yet every time one of these events happens in America, it's always the same story. It's always the same reporting. They lack nuance, don't they? They say, a psychopath in America has gunned down 14 innocent teenagers. It's like, well, that's a bit of a basic interpretation, isn't it? There's no nuance in that. 14 innocent teenagers, sure. Innocent for now. Have you seen what American teenagers are capable of these days? Did they have a manifesto? Were they storing ammunition? We'll never know, Is the story American Psycho, guns down 14 teens, or American hero prevents 14 tragedies. We can only speculate, unfortunately. This is the thing, the news is designed to make you sad. It's the whole reason it exists. The news is designed to make you sad, so you watch commercials, you see an ad for a big TV, you buy it, you watch more news, you get sad again, you buy a bigger TV, and then you just go around and around. And it does that by convincing you that you need to know everything that is happening in the world at all times. And you don't. You don't need to know. There are plenty of things about the world I don't know, and life's fine. I don't know why there are Ukrainian flags everywhere. I mean, when did that country get so popular? I don't know why Shane Warne quit commentating. Based on that reaction, whatever the reason, worse than what's happening in Ukraine, I guess. I'm so tired of the negativity, and I'm especially tired of hearing about negativity from a certain group of people, namely the youth. I'm tired of hearing about the importance of climate change from people who took 2 international holidays last year, you know? I'm tired of hearing about the importance of recycling from a generation personally responsible for the disposable vape. You know, Gen Z gets a lot of flack, and I don't think they totally deserve it. Their heart's in the right place, aren't they? They are better people than the rest of us, Gen Z. They're more empathetic, they're more caring, not like their racist, sexist, homophobic ancestors. You know, if only Gen Z had been on the first fleet, they'd have gotten it right, you know. They would have hopped off the Endeavour, done a quick acknowledgement of country. Gone to work and learning the Wiradjuri word for pronoun. That's what they would have done. I would just like to see more action from Gen Z. I think if you really cared about climate change, you would behave differently, wouldn't you? You wouldn't own an iPhone, you wouldn't own a car. You would live the way that people lived thousands of years ago. You would grow your own food, you'd walk everywhere. You would occasionally throw a virgin into a volcano to appease the weather gods. I don't want to alarm anyone in this room. The Earth's temperature has risen 4.5 degrees since we stopped committing human sacrifice. And I'm the only one even talking about it. And despite the fact that you've been to a climate change rally, you will know there is no shortage of virgins who care about this planet. I'm just saying, if Greta Thunberg really wants to make a difference, Greta, you hop on that yacht, you meet me at Vesuvius, okay? I will Spartan kick us to net zero emissions by the end of the week. Now, the scientific among you might be thinking, well, Tom, there's no guarantee that could work. How can we say with any certainty that Greta Thunberg is still a virgin? And it's a very good point. I don't know how many of you have seen Greta Thunberg recently. I mean, that girl is like the world's oceans, you know. She just keeps getting hotter. People pull back on that joke a lot, and I think I need to point out, of course, never okay to sexualize a child. Greta Thunberg is 19 years old, okay? Yeah, of course, it would have been inappropriate to tell that joke 3 years ago, back when I wrote it. The world's crazy, but my life's been going pretty well recently. I'm very settled. I'm in a very happy relationship with my partner for 5 years now. We're very much in love. I also recently turned 30, so even if I didn't love her, I'd stay. It's too late to start again. I'm not. A fresh start in my 30s? What am I, a refugee? No thanks, I've seen what happens to them, alright? Don't let the name fool you. Christmas Island, not as festive as it sounds. It's not a spot of tinsel on that place. It's a real shame. No, we break up now, there are consequences. When you break up in your 30s, there are real consequences to breaking up. We have a 30-year mortgage and a Labradoodle, okay? Yeah, we have assets to split up and a dog to put down. And I'm not doing it, okay? The other way behind it is if we had kids. Most vets won't do that. We break up, I gotta sell my furniture, pack my stuff, go to a share house. No, I can't. This is why I would never cheat on my partner. Because sex is good, but you know what's better? Not moving. Not moving, also my favorite sex position. I like my house too much. I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to move. My partner could come home tomorrow and say, Tom, I've been seeing someone else. And I would say, Beatty, this is why we got the spare room. I will stay out of your hair, all right? Don't you worry about me. You seen the price of electricity recently? Splitting it 3 ways, not a bad idea, okay? You guys sharing a bed, or is he bunking with me? Either way. We own our place too, which makes it especially hard. You know, that makes it really tough. We bought our place a couple of years ago. Some people are very awkward talking money with strangers. I don't care, I'm happy to tell you. 2-bedroom apartment in Sydney cost us 1.5 grandparents. I appreciate the empathy on that, thank you. It's very good of you. We both lost grandparents in the last few years. It's been a tough year for us, not financially, but in other ways. We only have 1 grandparent left between us. We're saving her to pay for our wedding day. It's a shame. She'd love to be there. But for financial reasons, she's going to have to be there in spirit. I lost my grandmother a couple of years ago. It was very unexpected. It had a big impact on me. Ever since then, I've been very passionate about pill testing at music festivals. My nanny, you know, she loved 2 things: her family and the Swedish House Mafia. I don't know if you've seen a woman gurn with no teeth before, but it is. It's a lot. And look, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is if you want to own property in Australia right now, and you're from my generation, somebody has to die. And I know we're uncomfortable because there are a few of those somebodies here tonight. Buying comedy tickets with somebody's rent money. And that's just the way it is. You know? And obviously I was very lucky. You know, I came from a well-to-do family. I turned 30, I lost a grandparent, and I gained a deposit. Not everyone gets that. You're from a working class family, you don't get that deal. You're from a working class family, you turn 30, you don't just get a big inheritance. You're in a working class family, you turn 30, I mean, your grandma's probably only in her mid-50s. She dies, you don't get a house deposit. Your other grandparents just get a bit more blankets, I presume. I should point out, most of my understanding of the working class does come from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't used to worry about it. I didn't think it was my problem. And then I realised, I had some thoughts about it. I realised this next generation are in trouble, you know? If we're going to do something about the housing affordability crisis in this country, this next generation, it's not just they won't be able to own their own home, it's worse than that. They might never be able to afford to rent one of mine. And that's no world I want to live in. I feel awkward about that sometimes. Middle class guilt is real too. I think, why did I deserve that money? What did I do to earn that? Some woman who had the same last name that I do, works hard her whole life, passes away, and I benefit? It doesn't feel right. I talk to my friends about this sometimes. They say, well, Tom, if you feel that way, why not give that money to charity? Anyway, it's a 2-bedroom. And very lucky. I do think sometimes I should be doing more for society at large. I have some friends who've started, they're like big endurance athletes, have started doing some fundraising. A friend of mine, he recently, to raise money for cancer, he ran a half marathon. And as his friend, I could not have been more half proud of him. It was just so semi-inspiring what he was willing to almost do. He was raising money for prostate cancer, and look, from my perspective, prostate cancer, one of the worst kinds of cancer. You know, the kind that only men get. Never know if that joke's worth it, but never stop me from telling it. Prostate cancer is a very important cause to my friend, a cause that he would do anything for, besides run a full marathon. And I thought, all jokes aside, it's such a selfless thing for him to do, to put himself through that physical pain and punishment for a bigger cause than him. So selfless. And then I found out his family has a history of prostate cancer. His father had it. His grandfather had it. And now it does feel a little selfish. Shouldn't be raising money for something you're going to personally benefit from. You know, you want to be charitable, how about we cure a disease you're not going to get? I mean, is this a fundraiser or a Kickstarter? Shouldn't be raising money for personal means. Do you see me raising money for the Liberal Party? No. And not just because we've already met our targets. It's not about that. And of course it's important to have a cause. My cause is equality. I'm very passionate about equality, and that means something. Because as a straight white man, equality doesn't benefit me at all. I have nothing to gain from that. Everything to lose, you think about it. As a straight white man, equality for us, equality for you, that's just more adversity for us, you know? I don't need that in my life. It's the same reason that I think everybody respects male feminists. Just me. Male feminists, the best kind of men and the best kind of feminists, I think. Because a male feminist is totally selfless. A male feminist doesn't care what's best for him. He cares what's best for women. Whatever they need. Equal pay, equal rights, sex with him. Whatever. It's such a shame that the numbers of male feminists are dwindling. I don't know if you're aware of this. 2023 numbers are really getting lower every day. Today, most men who used to be feminists now are either non-binary or in prison. Their pronouns are either they, them, or the accused. So at this point of the show, I'd like to share with you some jokes that didn't quite make the first cut. I have some jokes that... I write jokes every day. And some of them just don't quite fit the show tonally, and I would hate for you to miss out on them. Because, fuck, they're good. You know, I mean, just great stuff, honestly. Now, I've told these jokes at other shows around the country, and some people have leveled at me the accusation that these jokes lack class, they lack taste. And I've taken that on board. So just, Tim's my tech. Tim, could you just class the stage up for me a little bit, please? Just a little bit of class up here would be great. Thank you. There we go. Timmy. You will not fucking let it go, will you? You need this to be about you, don't you? The Chinese government have come out and said they'll no longer be accepting any Australian recycling. But evidently no one has informed the woman who keeps going through my bins. Says a lot about an audience when that's relatable. I had an ex-girlfriend. She and I had fun nicknames for each other. I used to call her Goldilocks because she wasn't too hot, she wasn't too cold, she was mauled by a bear. Got pulled over by an RBT recently after a few drinks, arguably a few too many. Get this, I blew 11 cops to get away with it. My therapist tells me I have a complex relationship with my mother, but in my defense, it wouldn't be so complex if she weren't so attractive. I love hip-hop. I'm a big hip-hop fan, but I got in trouble recently. I was driving with a friend of mine. He's a black gentleman. And evidently I found out that you're not allowed to use the N-word, even when you're singing along, even if it's a song that's your favorite, even if it's a song that you wrote. My sister was meant to get married last month, but COVID ruined her wedding plans. It killed her fiance. They didn't like that one in Melbourne. I can't dance. As a white man, can't dance. Very few of us can. We're the only race of men who can't dance, you know. Black men can dance, Latin men can dance, even Asian men can dance in the right context. You're not a nightclub, just a time zone. You know, you put a Chinese man on a Dance Dance Revolution machine, yeah, is a thing of beauty, you know. It just goes to show, Chinese men can excel at anything if you can make it a test. Tell your children if they make a funny face and the wind changes, it'll stay that way, is a great way to make them behave, but a terrible way to introduce them to stroke victims. On the dark web, I don't know if you knew this, on the dark web, the average cost of a human slave is $12,000 US. But if you use my promo code, it's the last one. If the camera really does add 10 pounds, then maybe Auschwitz was even worse than we thought. I'm going to pretend you're clapping because it's the end of the bit and not for the Auschwitz material. Thank you. We can lose the music now. Thank you, Tim. I'm in a very serious relationship, and yet I still have some very single friends, which is an interesting dynamic. I'm kind of in that early 30s time, but some have really settled down and some are just stretching out. And that makes it very hard, because sometimes I get my friends to ask me some very single guy questions. I have a friend who recently asked me, called me up and said, "Hey Tom, do you want to come and get a massage? I found a place that does rub and tucks." And I had to be the one to be like, "Look, Sonny, if you want to go and get a rub and tug, you go for it. I would feel like a creep doing that, okay? If you want to get a massage, I'll go get a massage. When it comes to the happy ending, I'm just going to watch." Just out of respect. Because I understand, I get it. I think if you're a straight man in a relationship, arguably a rub and tug is the only place you can, in good faith, ask for a hand job. You can't ask your partner for that. That's disrespectful. A hand job is so unromantic. It's so mechanical, you know. Asking for a hand job, that's like asking her to brush your teeth. This little bit of personal hygiene you've been doing since you were a child is something her problem, is it? I don't think so. You know, unless she's a professional or you've had a spinal injury, I just don't understand why you can't take care of this one, I thought. I think the only thing less romantic than asking for a handjob would be midway through one going, you know what, this is great. I'm just going to take it from here. Okay, don't... Let him enjoy it. There's a lot of experiences I've never had. I'm in a long-term relationship. I might never have them. I've never paid for sex. Increasingly popular in this day. I've never done it. I just call the bank and say my card was stolen. They take care of the rest. I've never had a threesome. I've never had either kind of threesome. I've never had a threesome with two men or a real threesome. I mean, a threesome with two men, that's just being gay with a witness, isn't it? I mean, obviously there are exceptions, you know, if you're in an NRL training camp. Then there's nothing gay about that. That's just, you know, premierships are won in pre-season. But I've never felt the need. I've never been in the throes of passion with a woman and thought to myself, fuck, I wish Ryan was here. Piece of support right now. And look, again, I'm in the minority. This is an increasingly popular thing. More and more men are experimenting with their sexuality in 2023, and I'm all for it. You know, more heaven for me. Being bisexual, one of the three leading trends of 2022, wasn't it? Three major trends. It was being bi, vaping, and Dyson vacuum cleaners. That was it. That was 2022 in a nutshell. Being bi, vapes, and Dysons. It was a huge year for suction. I don't want to seem like I'm on the wrong side of history, of course not. You know, I watch Queer Eye. I'm on board. No, have you ever watched that? Queer Eye is a show on Netflix where groups of queer men go and they level up people's lives all across America. It was actually based on a show that was around when I was a kid. It used to be called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, but then they took that away from us as well. Can't have anything to ourselves anymore. Straight men, got to share it. First Test cricket, now this. I mean, it's a shame because, you know, straight men, we needed the Queer Eye more than most. For the longest time, having no personal hygiene or sense of fashion, those were big parts of straight guy culture. And evidently our culture is being appropriated by countless lesbians in the Midwest. I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea. I'm an ally, of course I am. I have been a supporter of the LGBTQIA+ community for as long as it's been popular. You know, ever since the Mardi Gras became less of a protest march and more of a victory lap, I've really been getting involved. Now that they have some primo top-tier corporate sponsorship, I don't know about you guys, I take my moral cues from banks, telcos, and whatever I read on the side of a bus. And now, finally, famously gay brands like Johnny Walker and American Express are saying to queer people, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who you love or what you identify as, we will accept anybody's money. Now that money is digital and we don't have to touch anything that you touched. We've made huge progress for the LGBTQIA+ community, and yet some people still ask these very archaic questions. Questions like, oh, should we let trans women play sport? What a ridiculous question. Of course we should. We need to do anything we can as a society to make women's sport more exciting. Now, if you have a better way, I'd love to hear it, okay? How else are we going to get my dad watching WNBA highlights? LeBron James is going to have to transition. It's the only solution. Alright? That way you've got more female talent to choose from and you get more eyeballs on the sport. It is a slam dunk. Also, they can slam dunk. I'd like to get you all to reflect on the Auschwitz material not that long ago. And remind yourselves of how gleefully you ate that shit up. and I call into question the sovereignty of the WNBA, where 3 women have dunked in history. I don't have anything funny to say about this. I just feel very passionately about it. Auschwitz was fun. Anyway, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. I love sport generally. I love sport, whoever's playing it, to be honest. NRL is my favourite sport, which some people get very judgmental about. Some people really jump down my throat. They say, Tom, how could you support NRL athletes? Those guys are a bunch of drug-taking, wife-beating fucks. And I say yes. That's why I like it. You're telling me you're going to sit down on a weekend and watch 2 groups of men run at each other at full pace, taking years off their life, knowing they're a bunch of great blokes. Knowing every concussion they're losing memories of loving wives and children. Absolutely not. If it were up to me, you'd need at least 1 aggravated assault charge just to step foot on the field. When NRL players do something fucked, we ban them from playing. We should make them play more. That way, when you see an NRL player getting stretchered off the field, you don't see a young man in trauma. You see a young woman getting the night off. And still more offended by the WNBA. It's been an exciting couple of years coming up for me. There's a lot happening in my life. My partner has told me she wants to have her first child by 35. She's 29 right now. That seems like a long time. When you think about it, there's only 6 years for her to meet somebody. No, I think my partner and I probably will have kids. And when we do, I think I'm going to make a pretty good dad this time. I'm just not ready. I worry if I have a child too early to get in the way of my dream of stand-up comedy. I have friends who have kids. And for them, their dream was to have a family, and I don't judge them for that. I envy them, if anything. Do you have any idea what I would give for a dream I could achieve by accident? It's inspiring, you know. We can all achieve our dreams if we dream low enough. And of course, they are very different dreams. Stand-up comedy, parenthood. For one, I would love to be famous for being a comedian. And you do not want to be famous for being a parent. There are no good reasons. Only 2 kinds of children have famous parents: sporting proteges and missing persons. That's it. Your kid either has to be Tiger Woods or buried in them if you're going to get a Netflix documentary. And I want to be famous. I want to be on Netflix. And the only thing that platform makes anymore is stand-up comedy, true crime murder mysteries, and sporting documentaries. So if I have a kid too early and stand-up doesn't work out, kids better have some hand-eye coordination if they know what's good for them. Otherwise, it might be time for a little family trip to the woods with a golf club and no balls, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, I much prefer the sporting parent route. I'd be very happy with that. I saw that film last year. It's going to be tragic to lose you, sir. That's not the way up. Thank you, Nico. Appreciate that. Am I about to film my own assault? Oh, Nico, if you can't find the way back in, that's cool too. So close. I would rather be a sporting parent if I had the choice. I saw that film last year, King Richard. Anyone see that? Yeah. It was a great film, wasn't it? It was excellent. It's the story of Serena and Venus Williams' father, Richard Williams, their coach. Amazing film. Because I think we all saw Serena and Venus, two of the greatest female athletes of all time, and thought we need to know the story of the man who made this happen. Pretty feminist joke if you get irony, but a lot of people do not, especially women. And I've thought a lot about the kind of child I'd like to have. I think I've decided I'd like to have a daughter. As a son myself, I think I would love to have a daughter, because I would love to have a child I wouldn't have to withhold affection from. You can't be handing out affection to your son. Absolutely not. That's a one-way ticket to a male feminist, is what that is. You need to hold that back. You have a son, you need to just drip feed affection to him, just bit by bit. That way, it means so much more to him. Like, I will never forget the first time hearing my father say, "I'm proud of you." I'll never forget it. That's how much I'm looking forward to it. It's a funny time to be a man, I think, for someone my age, because I think I was born between two distinct generations of men. My father's generation, man up, men don't cry, boys will be boys. The younger generation, Gen Z, this is a safe space, what are your pronouns? Drinking cow's milk is a microaggression. And I'm stuck right in the middle between two groups of men who both use the word queer a lot. But for very different reasons. It's like that old proverb, in every man there is two wolves. And one of mine just will not stop crying. Because the other one keeps calling him gay slurs. And it's not to say that raising a daughter would be that much easier. I have a friend who has a daughter and he has to make decisions. And it's hard because as his friend, even though I don't have kids, I want to give my 2 cents. I don't know if it's my place. My friend told me recently he wants to enter his daughter into a child beauty pageant. Yeah, and I know it's not my place. I know I'm not a parent. I don't know what it's like, but I feel like I need to be the one to say, Matt, I don't know if this is a good idea. I just don't think Chloe has what it takes. She doesn't have that look, she's got no talent, she looks like shit in a swimsuit. Now, look, I'm not here to judge child beauty pageants, okay? I'm just a spectator these days. Of course, I'd rather attend an adult beauty pageant, but also, it's fun to go to those and be like, I knew her before she was famous. I remember when you were this tall. I always feel conflicted telling that joke because Matt is a real person. He's here tonight, and Chloe is actually his daughter. And Matt was the first friend of mine to have a child, and so Chloe was like the first child that I regularly interacted with. And I don't know how I feel about including her in my act. So Chloe was the first child that I ever babysat. I was so excited about it. I remember I went to the cafe, I got a coffee and a newspaper, and I picked Chloe up, and we went down to her favourite park. I sat on the bench, she ran off, and I got a little bit lost in the newspaper, to be honest. 40 minutes went past, I hadn't looked up once. And I realized, and I panicked, and I looked up and I scanned the playground, and I was trying, where is she? And she was just where I left her. And I ran over to her and I said, Chloe, is everything okay? Did anyone try to talk to you? Did anyone give you anything? And she looked at me, she was so confused. She was like, no. Now, does that sound like Little Miss New South Wales to you? 45 minutes unattended, didn't earn a single lolly. So that is the show. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Can I just get a little bit of jazz music one more time, Tim? Just to really lighten these up. Thank you so much. I have a friend who has a phobia of sharks. It's annoying because every time I go to the beach, she has like a panic attack. I want to be the one, the voice of reason, be like, Sarah, sharks kill 4 people in the world every year. What are the chances that a shark is going to attack you again? The final joke of the evening, had an ex-girlfriend who broke up with me because apparently I was objectifying women, and evidently it did not like that.